let me introduce you to our panel. We're going to discuss with this panel what happens in the day-to-day, because whether you're doing a rebrand or a launch or a campaign or anything else in your business, alignment with your values is going to help you stay on track. But how do you stay on track in the day-to-day overwhelm? So on our panel today, we have Georgia Vavasar, who is a Vedic meditation teacher and my personal spiritual guru. We have Sneha Patel, who is the founder of South Asians in Sustainability and Women in Sustainability Hub Lead for the New York region. We also have Tim Jones, who some of you might recognize because Tim was the most popular speaker of my previous summit, the Ethical Entrepreneur. Tim is the Grow Good guy, and his business is one of New Zealand's founding B Corps. Welcome, you three.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thanks, great to be here.
So good to see you all. So you are all going to do much more justice to your own intros than I will. So starting with Georgia, do you want to just give the audience here a bit of a background as to, what you do and how you help your customers?
Sure. I teach Vedic meditation, which is a technique of meditation that rests the body deeper than sleep and highly restorative for the nervous system, diving deep into layers of pure consciousness, which allow us to expand mind, body potential and really achieve our potential emotionally, physically, and mentally outside of meditation. So that's really the point behind it. I've been teaching that for 4 years now. And prior to that, I had a career in insurance for 12 years in Sydney, London. And so I've lived the corporate life. I haven't always been in the meditation space, but a lot of the people that I teach are corporates. They have businesses, they have their own business, they work for other businesses, or they're in the business of making families. Yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Jay. Tim, what is the Grow Good guy?
Kia ora. Hello. So I am a coach, consultant, trainer, and I'm all about helping individuals and organizations tap into what I call their purpose-fueled performance. So typically getting really into here to work out who you could be as an organization and as an individual so that you can maximize the amount of good that you can do during your small but hopefully amazing brief time on this little spinning disc in the middle of an infinite universe. So that's me. Similar to Georgia, though, corporate refugee. I had what I call a hard Brexit from the corporate world. I had what is basically described as a subconscious awakening after the earthquakes here in Canterbury and Christchurch, and then the birth of our daughter in 2012. And it's kind of like literally seeing the world in a whole new way. And I didn't really like what I saw. And I thought maybe I'd like to be part of solving some of the problems rather than being actively creating them. So that's me.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, Sneha.
Hi everyone. So grateful to be here again. My name is Sneha Patel. I'm in the New York City, New Jersey area. I am the founder of South Asians in Sustainability. It is a newly founded social enterprise aiming to empower, change, and uplift women in underrepresented communities, specifically in South Asia. Current focus is building a community from ground up within India, as well as supporting the North American market. As well as I am the Women in Sustainability Hub Lead for New York City region. So I head up this hub. We are a global collective women of change makers. And I heard the previous conversation and I am all about that. So we are here to help support, empower, and drive and amplify impact across the green careers for women globally. And our founder is based in the UK, a little bit closer to you guys, or some of you guys. So yeah, so happy to be here. Thank you.
Amazing. I'm so excited to see what happens when you put, purpose-led meditation teacher and sustainability network together. So let's get into it. What is the value of values? Who wants to go first? I'll jump at one.
I'll jump in if you want to start somewhere.
Go for it.
I think it gives us a guiding light in life. You know, if we're not leading from or living from a set of values, and that doesn't need to be a set of values that have been imposed upon us. They can be certainly self-created. Sometimes people think, oh, I've got to, you know, follow this person's set of values, or this religion's set of values, or this organization's set of values. So we can create our own, and they might be drawn from multiple different sources. But the purpose of them, I think, is to give us that, you know, guiding light through which we live, because there's so many things going on, busy lives, lots of demands, lots of stress, which I'm certainly going to talk to about being one of the leading reasons as to why we might stray from values at times. And so that gives us that anchor to come back to, what am I really here for? And not just what am I doing, which is often what we're really focused on, but who am I being through the doing, and how am I doing it? And so I think that values can provide us with a pathway, with an anchor to come back to a higher way of living and being and contributing.
Couldn't agree more. Beautiful.
Yeah, I'd love to kind of build on that. And I think to your point, I think it's a guiding principle, right? Like anything, when you think about, you know, whether it's in life or applicable in your professional life, business, anything in that nature, you know, I think, again, that it serves as a guiding principle to help you move forward. And it's really embedded within your kind of core personal values. Specifically to me, I think, you know, when I align with my core values, it really helps me and empowers me to drive change forward, especially in the women in sustainability framework and the work we're doing, as well as on the social enterprise side of things. And yeah, I think, you know, to kind of Georgia's point, you know, remaining true to your personal values can definitely reflect and can be embedded on the business side of things, especially if you are maybe on kind of like the social or environmental side of a career or pathway, and vice versa. So yeah, that was kind of my thought.
Do values differ, do you think?
Oh,
You know,
can I just quickly wade in on that one? Sorry, I had a
of course
couple
you
of.
can, Tim.
I think totally agree with what both ladies have said. The key for me though is, sort of Georgia touched on it. Are they really your values? And this is where I think most people are struggling with in the modern world. It's what I call the authenticity gap. So there's this kind of version of you who you could be, and there's this version of you who you are, which is what's been created by society, life, your parents, peers, advertising, marketing, those nasty marketing people making you buy things you don't need. But this is the kicker, like the number one regret of people at the end of their lives is, I wished I'd lived a life true to myself, not the life that others wish for me, which leads me to suggest that most people aren't living to their own true core values, and they may be scared of living those true values because they might upset the peers, parents, society, all the rest of it. So the key thing for me is, and I think this is the risk with purpose washing in general, is what I call kind of purpose light. It's kind of, it's rainbows and unicorns. Let's all look at the happy stuff. But if you don't recognize the bad stuff in you and the potential for bad within you, and you haven't actually like really dived into the depths to find your true values, it will always be a little bit of a disconnect. And increasingly, I think consumers, employees, investors, the community at large can sense when you're truly living it, versus we had someone come in and we kind of picked 3 words that we liked, which is what I think a lot of corporates are currently doing.
Yeah, and I would love to add to that as well, Tim. And I don't think there are such things as bad values. I think it's just, you know, potentially spending some time with yourself, and honestly starting with yourself first, aligning with, you know, how you want to maybe potentially show up in the world, how you can action some of those behaviors that you believe in, that show up every day. So yeah, I think purpose washing definitely happens from a corporate side of things. And I think it's really more, you know, kind of a thing we need to think about for small businesses, because there is definitely a larger impact on how you show up as a small business, especially when you say you're a value-led or versus like a value-based business. So there are some key kind of differentiators, but I think starting and doing that internal work first, it definitely helps you show up a little bit better. And again, values are changing, right? Like every day. So, I think just understanding, where the need gaps are potentially, and kind of still, reflecting and aligning back to your core values, I think do help you to better understand one, how am I showing up? Do they really reflect in what I believe in? For me to show up the way I intend to in life or in business, as well as then to kind of follow up that and tailor that to your business. So, especially like I said, I think like even on my end, I think that's kind of like the work that I had to do last year, really kind of get serious in terms of, okay, what is this? Like, what do I want? Where do I want to be? And really kind of frame that work through my personal values that I have embedded into my social enterprise as well.
Yeah. Do you think, I've certainly seen in my work that corporate veil kind of coming down with a lot of people. And, I mean, I would say the pandemic and being on Zoom and actually having families in the backgrounds and interruptions with kids coming in and all of this kind of stuff is so much more acceptable these days. Do you, let's move on maybe to the piece about managing your values in the overwhelm in the day-to-day with all of those disruptions and interruptions and everything else going on. What do you think you need to do to maintain true to those values despite everything that's happening externally?
I'll say that, for me and in my experience, that you have to have a way to release the stress. If you just keep winding and winding and winding without creating balance in some way, hopefully a way that's really powerful that allows you to kind of come back onto self, which meditation is naturally. I might be a little bit biased on that, but it's, generally accepted that that's one of the best ways of doing that. And I know that's a big part of how you operate your business and life, Marijke, but that gives you the opportunity, once or twice a day in general, to release the overwhelm, and the overwhelm getting caught up in all the little things, and this client didn't pay that bill and this and that, and the family's doing this. It doesn't allow you the clarity of thought, even perceive what your value might be in that moment. Values can change. You might change and grow and evolve, and your values system might grow and change and evolve with you. But the capacity to come back onto yourself, and my kind of journey coming out of insurance, which, was a great career for a long time, but it wasn't really aligned with, who I am or what I wanted to do. But I was just so caught up in that cycle, going. I never really stopped. It was either going in business or going personally, socially. And then when I started to meditate, I just kind of was like, why am I even here? This isn't fueling my soul, my passion. And I'm not sure that I, particularly find great fulfillment in what I'm doing. But the difference, I guess, for me that meditation made was the ability to actually, find the inner strength and courage to leave a 12-year career with all of the financial stability that came along with it. And also that fearlessness where, that fear is one of the biggest barriers. Fear, stress, worry is one of the biggest barriers to living from values, because what are those fears? As Tim touched upon, what others will think, what will everyone think when I quit my, insurance job that pays whatever to go off and become a meditation teacher, which has all kinds of largely incorrect stereotypes and associations with it. And what will my family say? And will I ever make money again? And, all the fears that get thrown up from conditioning largely and social hypnosis, as Tim touched upon. But also, fear of resources, often in business, that's the thing, scarcity mentality. Well, I need to, my competitor's doing this, and if I don't do it too, am I going to be left behind? Are they going to carve up the market space? Well, but, is that action even inspired? Can you stay in your own lane and run your own race? And that comes from being able to block out the noise in a sense. And so by quieting down, going inside and reconnecting with self on a regular basis, and I would say, as you know, from the technique I teach is twice a day, that's kind of a minimum amount of time that we need in modern life with all the noise, both personal and professional, for us to be able to that consistency of practice is constantly realigning, firstly, but secondly, clearing out the stress, clearing out the noise. So you're always coming back to a position of clarity. And I think that having a tool like that is probably, you know, just absolutely essential to be able to, you know, things don't have to be done in the overwhelm. If we're getting into overwhelm, we're too stressed, we need to stop, we need to take a break, we need to, you know, develop a practice, a tool that's going to bring us back to center, and that center is where ultimately core values reside. I mean, I didn't even know what my own values were before I started to connect inside. I was just following around, oh, that sounds good, that looks good, you know, living through that mask, as you touched on, Tim. But at the time, I wouldn't have known how to find who I really am. So for me, it took a tool to be able to do that. So, you know, I think that is a really good path to explore if people haven't done so already.
I totally agree. But this is the hardest thing you'll ever do, because that taking time to check in with yourself, but really check in with yourself and ask yourself tough questions, is the hardest thing that any human will ever do, which is why no one does it, which is why greatness is so easy to achieve. Because if you dare to go in, look inside yourself and ask yourself what's really, really there and who actually am I, like that is, you know, the hero's journey. That's why Star Wars is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. That's why Harry Potter, you know, a wizard seeking stuff, wonder what he's seeking. You know, that's why J.K. Rowling is a multi-billionaire, because she's nailed the story that is true to all of us. We're all searching for that hero inside ourselves. But there's a University of Virginia study, I think it's 2014, they got grad students to come into a lab, and they said, right, the experiment is you're going to be in a room here. It's a dark room. You're in there with nothing but your own thoughts. You need to stay in this room for 10 minutes. If, however, you want to leave, you can self-administer an electric shock and the door will open and you'll be able to leave. It was around about 70 or 80% of participants self-administered the electric shock. They weren't being asked to challenge their thoughts or to question their thoughts. It was just basically be in a room for 10 minutes and kind of meditate. And most people can't even handle that because they're scared of what's gonna pop up. Two other things just real quickly. Proust's questionnaire is a really, really cool tool. It was the first thing that I stumbled across to try and work out who I am. It's 35 questions that authors use to create a character. But if you do it as a self-reflection, it asks you, like, what is the quality you most dislike in a man? What's the quality you most dislike in a woman? What is your motto? How would you like to die? Who is your historical character that you might, or historical person that you most admire? It really helps you bring to the fore everything that you actually think and feel to be true about yourself. And just lastly, like keeping yourself together, or when you have the bad times, how do you stay true to your values? Actually, the bad times are when your deepest, truest values will come to the fore, good and bad. And this is the great opportunity to self-reflect and see how you are reacting versus how could I have responded. So really, really hard times are critical to understand who am I at my core. But equally, peak experience, when you're having really, really great, amazing times, are your kind of positive attributes. And knowing what those are and knowing how you react in times of stress and times of peak performance, that'll be where the gold is.
I love that. We are gonna have to cut it short, I'm afraid, because we're running over time. But it's such an interesting conversation, and so good to get all of your different perspectives. And I mean, I don't think actually that your perspectives are that different. I think they're very much aligned, funnily enough. So thank you so much for all of your time, and maybe we might have to continue this conversation separately in another forum for everyone, because there's just so much we could go into.
Thank you.
And thanks, Marijke, for having us.
So much.
Pleasure.